Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll call a roll call tonight. Libby.
Here.
Tanya.
Here.
Ron.
Right.
Ryan.
Here.
I haven't slept yet today. Becky.
Here.
Rick. Here. Sorry about that, right?
That's okay.
Okay, I declare we have a quorum. Before we go and approve the meeting agenda, we're gonna add the water treatment update onto the water treatment. Do we need to make a motion? Somebody needs to make a motion. Make a motion that we add the water treatment update.
I make a motion to add the water treatment update to the new business, I believe.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the previous minutes from May 15th?
Make a motion to approve minutes for May 15th as written.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Ayes have it. Thank you. All right, new business. Tone Salon, 110 South Main Street. Council to consider allowing or prohibiting a dumpster in the public parking lot between Main and Merrill Street. Is somebody here from Tone? Did they call you or say they weren't going to be here tonight, or did they know they were on the agenda?
They may not have known. I mean, we just threw it on.
Right.
Doing it to our last meeting. For our last meeting, our internal meeting, we I think the issue may have been discussed by no, I don't know. I don't recall if it was discussed in a public forum, but the issue is Tone Studio put a dumpster in the town's parking lot. I think maybe a few months ago. The owner of the property, Mr. Lindsay Hendricks, had stated he was under the impression that the council back in the early 90s had allowed a dumpster to be placed in that parking lot. So there's a separate code enforcement case that's pending regarding 108, 110. But in terms of that one aspect of it, we simply wanted council to weigh in as to whether or not you had a strong feeling one way or the other as to if the dumpster should stay on that public property or be removed or whatever it is. From a planning and code enforcement perspective, honestly, I'm somewhat ambivalent to it, but certainly it's your decision since it's on public property. I think your options are, you could just leave it as is. You could assign a time frame to it, or you could, have them remove it and use a more typical residential style dumpster behind or bin behind their building. So I think you have some different options, entirely up to you. And then Alex Intermill, the town attorney, had mentioned that if you are inclined to allow it in the parking lot, that just a basic agreement be signed to say that, the town still has rights to the property. It's still our property and we're allowing it. So those appear to be your options. So if you're inclined to take action one way or the other, it's.
I forgot to go look at it. Is it located? Is it in the way anyways? It takes up a parking space?
It's taking up a parking space.
Parking space
Yeah,
of the town spaces.
one of the towns.
So
Yeah.
what stops 5 other businesses from putting 5 other dumpsters in 5 other parking spots?
The others.
Yeah, and I think certainly all arguments are fair arguments and like I
I
said,
say we deny the dumpster until they come in and request to have a dumpster put on on the parking lot. That's my suggestion.
Just code enforcement and then they called or?
no, we had received, Fritz, I think. had
There-
mentioned-
there- It was in the alley one day. It rolled out in the alley and over there, their complaint is taking up a parking space.
But they don't have a place to put it in there.
I know, but that's not our problem.
I understand that.
Our problem is it's our parking lot. They should have asked or came in and got a permission to put the dumpster on the parking lot. That's the bottom line.
There've been other businesses in there that never had a dumpster back there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
but-
don't know
What
if
they
it's
did with their
necessary to have them either. I don't know what they're.
Yeah.
Theirs is more on their property, not in the alley. Where you go look at the VFW Legion,
Do they have the
It- it-
property to sit it? on?
yeah,
They don't.
right.
I'm
But-
saying it's right. Just saying they don't have the property
Right.
like everybody else.
But I'm saying they should ask.
Yeah.
It'd be like me putting a dumpster in your yard without
No.
asking
Yeah.
permission
Why can't
first.
they dump that big in?
That's what I think. They don't need it.
Discuss it.
Yeah, just remove it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Needs the dumpster.
Do
We need as much parking as possible.
Ordinance that dumpsters in a defined area
do.
with,
For, if you're doing a brand new dumpster on your private property, you've got to put it in a corral. The materials of that need to match the building. And I don't recall if you need to have landscaping around it or not. But at a minimum, it's got to have a corral and then a gate in front. That's on private property, so. That the setup that they've got right now is not something that would be legal under the zoning ordinance on private property. But being on public property, again, it's up to you all as to how you think we ought to proceed on it.
Those dumpsters are not paid to be emptied by the town. They have. to
No,
pay for
it's
that
private.
themselves. So,
Yeah,
maybe they just don't.
Lindsay, I guess, told them it was all right to put it there. And I don't know anything about the nineties decision to put a dumpster on public property.
I can see.
I think they definitely should have asked permission.
Yeah, so
Okay.
let's make a motion that it be removed. You want me to make a motion?
I think they ought to come talk to. Somebody at all. You know.
So you don't need a decision on this tonight?
Talk to us next meeting.
Yeah.
well, certainly it's your prerogative if you want to take action tonight, one way or the other. My suggestion would be to provide some direction one way or the other, just so we can keep things moving along.
So we're gonna table this,
No,
because you're really not doing anything. You're not making a vote or anything.
by providing direction.
Yeah, I would say
Oh.
however you'd like to
Direction one way or
proceed.
The other, but. I'd like to get some information from them as to why they need a dumpster that big and do they need it all the time and can't
Sure.
they use a regular? Where would they put their trash, even if they got a regular size trash can?
I would think they need to figure something out other than.
They
a
need to
parking
figure out
spot.
than using a parking spot.
That's my opinion.
They don't want.
There's an empty building next to them. They can put it inside that garage and then roll it out during a trash day and roll it back in if they need to.
That building.
Hmm?
Who owns that building?
I don't know.
Well, there you go.
So no vote, no nothing, or just tell them to come in. We don't need to make a motion on that.
Yeah, I would.
what the direction
I'd
is.
have Somebody make a motion on.
What
it is they
direction?
would Like to do.
I'll make a motion to ask Tone Salon to come in and discuss their need, what they need, and so that maybe we can give them direction on what they need to do. To move forward.
And then we need to have the attorney write something up saying. What's the,
Well, that would.
what I
probably
want
be
to
the-
do too, is to make this a blanket thing. Let's say they don't start cleaning up out there on our property. There's got to be some verbiage in there that You can't just let trash lay
Let's
around
start
it
with
too.
there.
Okay,
Start that.
okay,
And then once we decide that, then we can go further with what we're gonna ask them to do.
okay.
Okay, I second Tanya's amendment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Guys have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, old let's go to the water treatment since we added it to new business.
Good evening. Nice to see all of you again. I'm Doug Tischbeimer, Reynolds Construction. Ryan, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Bradley,
you.
good to see you. Good news is we took samples of the water at the plant and it's really clean. This is the old plant. So I know that there were some concerns that got maybe posted today and we can assure you that the water coming out of the old plant is very clean. Second good news is that we are ready to make water. So we're ready to turn on. We met with Joe today out there and did a tour, had a very in-depth conversation. Dan Clark is the project manager for the project. Dave Hammond's on site. Dave Thompson, as you know, is on vacation this week. He's asked us not to fully run the plant until he's back on site because he is the certified operator, which we're absolutely compliant with that request. The water in the towers is increasing, so the storage is 20 to 21 feet on both towers. So that's in good shape too. We've been commissioning the plant for probably the last 4 weeks. We're doing the programming now, kind of on the process side of the equipment. That'll be finished up this week. The last piece of major equipment to be delivered is the generator. If you remember from earlier discussions, we have to run both plants together because the old plant has the emergency power. So the new generator is supposed to be here the 14th. About a week to install. We're pouring the pads. We got the conduit in, the electrical's ready to be hooked up, so we're ready for it. Plant will be operational by, I'm not making promises, but I'm just suggesting to you that by the end of next week, that plant will be running when Dave is back on site. So any kind of concerns that are out there, the water quality is good. We've had a few delays, a few hiccups, as everybody knows, but it's going to be a plant that the town should be very proud of by the end of next week when we're making very good clean water. Any questions?
Should we expect anything to happen when the switchover happens?
Switchovers, shouldn't be any interruption going from the old plant to the plant.
Didn't notice that if anything, if there is complaints now, there should not be any.
I would say if anything, you'll probably see an improvement on the water.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Because the pumps won't be running so hard trying to keep up.
Yeah, so we're in good shape.
Great.
Have a ribbon cutting when landscaping gets a little bit better off and give you guys a tour. I know there's some pictures that have been routed around. The office area, administrative area looks really nice. Yeah, so I think we're in good shape.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No,
Okay,
thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
All right, going on to old business, Mount Vernon Optimist Club Council to review the two options of the written athletic fields use agreement. Option 1 and option 2.
Differences are what's highlighted on here.
Is this just through the rest of this year, Tanya?
Well, this it kind of includes, yeah, the second one, option B, has pretty much just give them no field use fees for 2023, if you see on there. So anything for 2024 will be this what's written here.
I see, okay,
This other one will obviously just be an
Okay.
annual,
okay, so then I have to pay anything for 23,
yeah, in either case.
okay. Okay.
I think I'm leaning more towards option one.
So is the B need to be in there? Cause it's saying all outstanding park use fees must be paid at the time of execution of this agreement. But this agreement is in lieu of field use. Park will be accepted equal in kind donations.
What that means is if they have other outstanding park fees that are not billed fees,
Okay,
need to be paid,
okay,
which they do.
okay.
So Libby, you think you like option one where they will never pay any fees?
No, they would do in-kind donations. Selected from a list that Heath
Oh,
will
equal
provide.
in kind, so they really be paying the same no matter what.
It's basically what they've done in the past, except it's just in an agreement form and expected every year instead of whenever.
And that's going forward, and that's not just here, this year.
Yeah, this is. Same agreement, they'll be, whatever we decide on here tonight will be what they'll use going forward. Unless somebody,
And who's going to determine that they do the donations?
I mean, Heath would be in charge of that. He's gonna come up with a list. They're gonna agree upon the list.
well, we put a list in here. I guess you're gonna have them pick one this list.
Mhm.
Oh, and
So I would say that would go hand in hand with the execution of the agreement. Once it's, they need to have those things selected that they choose to offer in kind at the signing of the execution of the agreement.
do you know whether or not they have a preference on you?
They already said they wouldn't pay any field fees. I don't know. They've not committed to in kind so far, so I'm not sure how that's gonna end up. They want to say they don't want to do that either, but that is probably the preferred kind, because that's what they've done in the past and just not committed to it lately.
Heath,
So,
what's the easiest way to administer it? Either one of those contracts work better for the administering of that, tracking it? Sorry if I jumped in there.
You're good. Parks manager for the record. I mean, honestly, we're gonna have to trust them quite a bit to be able to follow through if contracts are signed with that in-kind stuff, simply because if I'm not mistaken, that the execution of that contract's on January 1, correct? If they sign that contract and we agree to it, the in-kind stuff does not happen until May or June or July, right? April. I mean, we're gonna have to trust the fact that they're going to do what they say they're gonna do in our contract. Prior to it actually happening. The easiest thing for us from a tracking perspective, if that's what you're asking, is to probably have it go through the girls in the office and just do fees as is, but I can understand the in-kind stuff. I'm a little, if the monetary value is the same from an in-kind standpoint, I'm not sure. We're kind of sixes at that point in time. I don't care either one. Just from a council perspective, just understand that in-kind stuff is probably going to be it's going to have to be executed after the contract is signed. So it's on you guys whether or not it's something you feel that you're willing to sign the contract and have them sign the contract prior to the things actually being done.
But then if they don't do it, it voids the contract, right?
Right, they have a certain
Mhm.
amount of time, but we've not really given them a deadline, which I guess I probably should have done that. Was to fulfill the in-kind part of it. I did not put the deadline in here for them to do that.
And I'll be honest with you, that deadline can probably vary based on what in-kind things that they're choosing to do,
Yeah,
right?
It's really kind of hard, I guess, to give it.
It is, but again, I mean, we typically, for instance, one of the items on that list is a calcined clay. For anybody that doesn't know, calcined clay is it's kind of a water stabilizer and field conditioner that helps compaction of soil to keep things a little bit softer even when it's dry. Typically March is usually when we get those pallets, and I try and get those down sometime between March and April. Some of the other things on there, remind me again, I apologize, I don't remember exactly what's on that list, but
Pitching mound. Portable pitching mound.
Bases.
I mean, bases, those things are things that could be purchased at any point in time. That we can store. The clay is a little bit different simply because it just takes up so much room, the pallets of those. Obviously, I think field spraying was on there.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of, I mean, that's all dependent based on, time of year in our 6 applications at that point in time. So, yeah, I mean, it's,
What's replace old playground? Is that what you're talking about by the concession?
yeah, so there's an older playground sitting up by the concession stand, in between the 2 fields back there that needs to be yanked out and replaced.
So they needed to remove the playground equipment that's there. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's in pretty rough shape and it needs
Why,
to be.
why would that be their responsibility?
Just
checking.
It's something for them to volunteer to do in lieu of payment.
Okay, I thought that playground equipment was like $50,000.
They're expensive, are they?
So
It's small, that one in particular.
how much is that?
Super small. The most recent quote I got to replace it with some kind of climbing rock structure was somewhere around 15,000.
15,000?
Yeah.
I don't think I don't know. But that's.
And again, this was kind of a wish list, right? I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
it's not a.
Okay, that's
My
what,
request would be based on what the field usage fees would have been, finding something comparable to that in-kind donations.
I don't know
I
why
don't
they'd
know.
rather do that than just pay the bill.
well, we're asking for all this stuff. Maybe we're adding stuff up in here that shouldn't be in here.
Their choices. They don't have to do them all.
I'll do them all. Okay,
They make the choice on what they want to give in.
okay.
Well,
To
the
a
reason
certain amount.
the reason I like that option is because it's similar to what they've always done.
Yeah.
We're putting it in,
Okay.
in a similar thing.
I
but it
thought
never-
maybe we wanted them to do all.
No, they've spent, gosh, what was that? How much did they spend on
Well, they
the
did
gym
$15,000
and yeah, and
year
the
for fencing,
fencing and
didn't
all
they?
of that?
And
I mean, essentially, in 5 years, we're talking about little over 15 in 5 years. So, you break that down 15 by 5, that's $3,000 a year. That's essentially kind of what
Yeah,
we're asking anyways at that point in time. So, whether it's a lump sum of the playground, that's $15,000 and we not necessarily rewrite this, but agree to that contract for the next 4 or 5 years, or whether it's, we'll just go, whatever that kind of fee is based on field usage. This year, though there's no games, I didn't realize that there weren't T-ball games being played at Hampton Field. The scheduled practices, I'm not sure about Hampton because we don't keep track of that stuff. So I'm not sure how much they're using that in the evenings. But I believe there was somewhere between 80 and 85 practices scheduled or times scheduled on those 3 fields between whenever Steve had sent that first email, which I believe was somewhere around, the 1st of April through the end of July. So that's quite a bit of field time, field space.
And I didn't see it in here, Tanya. Is there some kind of an incentive for them to notify us if they're not going to use the field? So that we would be able to rent it out to someone else? I didn't see that. I know we had talked about it. I just-
I can't. I thought they have to give us a schedule.
Yeah, the schedule, they have to provide the schedule.
But if they give us a schedule and say
Yeah.
every day, all day, but yet they don't use it, then we miss out on other opportunities.
What I can verify is I haven't looked for the month of June. But through the last 2 weeks through the month of May, they had one particular field scheduled for the same day, 4 weeks in a row, and they were only out there 2. So,
So they need to let us know.
I
I
don't,
think if they're scheduled and they don't use them, I mean, they can't, we can't put somebody in there at the last minute and say, okay, well, you can
Right.
practice there.
so.
It's already, I mean, it makes it difficult to do that. So if you say you want this time, you need to pay for it, whether you use it or not. Because the other team that would use it would get charged the same way.
From the in-kind donation standpoint, that's where making it just a fee makes it a little bit cleaner, right? Because if they don't use it and they call, they don't have to pay. However, if it's a in-kind donation, we're assuming that they're gonna use it for those X amount of days. That's kind of what that in-kind is based on. So if in January, they give us a schedule and say, we want to use it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on these 3 fields. We can count up however many practices or, time slots there are and kind of give them an idea of what that in-kind looks like. But if they end up only using it half that time, it's going to be very hard to keep track of. And again, I don't have an issue with it. They're just going to have to understand on their end that if that's the direction they want to go, there's not really any way to give them back in-kind money at that point in time. So I can't give them a pallet of calcined clay back.
Yeah.
So
I think I lean option 2 personally.
I want you to do too.
I think it's more fair for everyone.
All the other stuff.
So my other question too is with the in-kind side of it. And I don't know that it was necessarily addressed, is where does priority become a thing at that point? Because if everybody from are we asking them to go to have that priority and to bump other people to have something other than that in-kind? Because the way that it works right now is it's first come, first serve. And if when the schedule opens up, team X calls and they schedule it, then they've got that time and that priority, unless for some reason they cancel. If the Optimist, and again, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but if they're essentially paying the same amount through in-kind and or paying, what are they doing to warrant that, hey, we're going to take this every day? I don't know the answer to that, but that's something that, you guys as a council kind of need to run through and kind of see what that looks like.
How did we get by the past? Well, how long have they been there? 50 years?
Because it's not what it used to be.
No.
I mean, in all due respect, I mean, the amount of teams and phone calls that we field at this point in time to use fields is
Because teams nowadays.
yeah, I mean, it's rec leagues, unfortunately, are not the way that things happen anymore.
Right.
And so, in the past, their priority was on the fact that, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, they were doing all the field work out there.
Yeah, they did everything.
They did everything. They didn't, and so that was kind of, hey, we're taking care of all this stuff, so we're getting priority. If somebody wants to use it outside of when we use it, then it's kind of, there. But as it sits, nobody, and this is including, and this isn't picking on the Optimist, this is including everybody that's using our fields. Nobody's doing anything above and beyond the fee, so nobody's getting priority at this point in time. It's first come, first serve, and that's how we're doing it. So
My biggest fear is we force them to, okay, leave, and then the kids that are here in town aren't gonna be serviced by the Optimists, and they'll have to go to Mount Comfort.
They're
That's what.
already
I know, but there was a big complaint saying that, we might as well not even have, it here then. And then I could see why the Optimists are having problems. We have 3 different concession stands. Most baseball diamonds, now that I look into it, they have 1 concession. They have 6 diamonds around it. This one here is set up where the people that are travel league, they're paying to play there, but they're not relying on the concession to cover other club fees that they've got going on. They're just gonna pass that cost on to the end user, which it might price the Optimists out because we've made it too expensive for them to even be here. You know what I'm saying?
They're not using the concession stands now. They didn't use them at all
Oh.
this year. They didn't use them on ball day.
Well, what they were saying, that the concession is where they make their money.
Right, and they didn't open them
When?
for ball day or
Why not?
anytime.
They didn't play games out there, did they? Or did they?
Okay, well,
They-
they did play some at the Little League. I don't know that the softball team.
Yeah, I
was
don't-
on
They
this.
said they were gonna play some. I
they
think in
played
those
all,
emails.
they played quite a few games
Okay, so
this
this-
past weekend,
Okay.
including
So
T-ball.
neither one of those concession stands were open. That
Correct.
at all. I mean, I feel like they've already vacated making Fortville a priority. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest, that's how I feel, and that's how I see it. Because why else wouldn't they be out here when other games are being played and open up that concession stand and make some money? Open it up.
Do they have water, electricity on both of them?
But yes, it is more convenient for them to have a Clover like they've got and do it that way, but this isn't set up that way over here.
Oh, I know.
But they're not even, they still are losing money by not even trying to open them up for the people that are here. You know, the people that practice out here at night, I'd send some teenage kid out here and open them up, and let them make some money. You know, they'll buy stuff to drink when they're practicing and everything else. They're
Well,
not
they-
making the effort.
They are still going to be able to use the T-ball fields with no charge. Do they use them, Heath? No, see, they're not doing anything in Fortville now.
So my understanding is, and you gotta understand that we drag those fields every day. So there's not footprints on it from the time that I dragged it to the time that I drag it the next day. I know nobody's been on it. If there's a set of footprints, I know it was a kid running across the field. You can tell when somebody's been on the field. Again, I don't have their practice schedule. I don't know what that looks like. But my understanding is, and through the emails, that there has not been any games played at Hampton Fields this year other than ball day this past week. So I assume they pushed their T-ball out to Mount Comfort as well. After,
They said in the emails they weren't playing any T-ball games down there. Because when you asked him about the water, he said they weren't playing any games there.
right,
And so, well, yeah, that was another issue was the water treatment plant being built. There's no way to get back there to service it where they can get around it. I don't feel comfortable voting on either one until I hear from them. I was hoping they would be here tonight
Here for them for what?
Huh?
For what?
for the option.
Well, I asked them point blank last meeting if their position was to pay nothing and use the fields with priority, and they said yes. That was their position.
Okay.
They don't do that in Mount Comfort. I mean,
I make a motion to take a vote on these 2 options.
Okay, well, somebody make a motion.
I make a motion to option 2, to approve option 2 agreement for the MVOs.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay.
hey,
Okay, option 2 passes, or, yeah, option 2 passes. Okay, moving on, Joe Renner.
Yes, just a couple of real quick items for you. I sent you an email earlier about Commonwealth that came in and talked to us about working on our stormwater MS4, helping Kenny get in compliance for all that. IDEM is requesting or actually requiring all water utilities to do a lead service line inventory. And it's a whole lot more difficult than what it just sounds like. They're wanting to know what kind of lead and what kind of pipe is going into the people's homes from our meter pit. Even if it's galvanized, they may consider that as a lead pipe in their inventory. So it's going to take some time, and it's going to be quite a task for our guys to get out and try to get that done. But Commonwealth reached out to us after that last meeting, and Indiana Finance Authority is giving $15,000 funding to help communities do this inventory. And they offered to submit this application for us. And if, they would actually have to do it. They're the ones that would get awarded the fund. It wouldn't be the town of Fortville. So they were asking if we would like for them to go ahead and submit for those funds and work on that project for us. So it would take them up to 6 months to complete it.
I
And
think
it's
that's a good idea, but what will happen when they find these lines?
Well, it's my understanding, I mean, they're looking to do this all over the state, if not
Right.
even further out. And they're just trying to do for the environmental stuff and the lead and all the stuff in the water system and in the lines. So they can then figure out how much money they need to put back for replacement, put into the,
They won't replace the lines on personal property, will they?
at this point in time, all it is an inventory. So we don't know what
Okay.
they're looking to do.
Or they could come in and make people I mean, you think. the
I
people
think
want
since they're wanting to do the inventory, I don't know if they're gonna make people do it. I'm thinking it's more so they know how much money to budget
Okay,
for repairs and replacement.
okay. I think it's a good idea to do it, to get the grant if we can.
Okay.
If you guys are good with that.
Thank
Okay.
you.
If I could jump back on, you guys voted on option 2 for the Optimist, just to make it clear for the minutes. So we've got it for State Board of Accounts. Just to be clear, the way that states is there will be no charge for those fields for this year. Is that correct?
Correct.
For 2023. Okay. And if we can make sure that that shows up in the minutes, that'd be
Okay.
awesome. Our insurance premiums went up significantly. I think it's like $54,000 is what they estimated. Last year, our insurance went down quite a bit because we shopped and got a different company. This year, we had our budget increased by 64%. Some of our inventory had increased. We had had a claim with well, no, it wasn't the cyber. What is the not IPEP? Nope. Hang on here, I got it. Workman's comp. That's the one I'm looking for. So we had a workman's comp claim that they kind of helped score us high. And then they also feel like the insurance company is kind of just filling to see what's out there to see if they can start getting the prices up on insurance again. So we had went ahead and signed up for just like the quarterly portion of that. So we keep from lapsing, but we're shopping insurance for the town to see if we can come up with some better rates.
So
on
work
that.
comp is the same as liability, the provider.
Yeah, we use
Yeah,
that. It goes through iPad, but
You
yeah,
might
it's
try to
all,
look at it separately and see,
yeah,
might be a different. I do mine separately.
yeah.
Is the town still with the same company? Have they ever changed?
No, we did change. We
Did you
changed this
change?
last time. We were at the MC and we went to Trident this last time. And the other thing I've got, the only other thing I've got is it's come to my attention that our parking ordinance is needing updated. I thought we were good to go with that. So probably within the next couple of meetings, I'll be bringing an updated parking ordinance to you folks for approval. And if there's anything that you see that we might take a look at, and I know I've already talked to Pat, and we're going to be looking at some other areas that we feel like might need to be included in that. With the growth and the change of things, it's necessary to make those adjustments from time to time. Other than that, that's all I have, unless you have anything for me.
Anything?
When was the last time we had a park?
The last time we had a park board. Bob, do you remember? Park board?
When was the last time there was a park board?
Yeah.
They got rid of the park board when I worked at the town, so it's
Mhm.
been,
2001.
will the park board help you all, Heath?
No, it was later than that.
Okay.
Yeah, and the last documents I saw.
Currently, the town council acts as the park board.
Why? What did it happen? Anybody know?
What happened to your camera, man? We're looking at that. The only thing I can tell you is back in the day when they were trying to get things done, they just weren't being very productive, I guess. So
How do you feel about that, Heath? Do you think a park board will help you? I mean, most of the towns have park
You want to talk
boards.
about this when you get up here? I'm sorry.
I think there will probably eventually be a need. I don't know that we're necessarily there yet as a municipality. The council serves as park board right now. As we grow, and Joe and I have talked about this, I think there will probably be a need at some point in time. I'm gonna guess maybe in the next 5 to 7 years. If the growth-based economy and everything else, we may need to look at it doing something like that. But as it sits right now, I don't necessarily think it's a need from the municipality standpoint. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I think it would take, further discussion and kind of see what that would look like. As always with park boards, since, correct me if I'm wrong, is that they're appointed. They're not elected positions at that point in time. So it's getting the right people in that all have kind of the same vision and plan for the future of the parks in the town. So, again, I'm not opposed to it. I don't know that there's necessarily a need for it yet.
Okay.
that's all I've got. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Patrick, Brett. Got a few things, but I'll be quick. St. Thomas Festival, Mark Dudley reached out, and I know that Joe and I have the authority to do so, but with the construction, I want to run it by the council. They want to block off Garden Street next to the church for the festival on August 5th. It will start at 11 and be removed by 8 p.m. I'm perfectly okay with it because nothing's coming eastbound anyway. That way, it would just kind of shut off westbound and cut off just the two roads going north up to Broadway, which they can't get anywhere anyway. And you can access the subdivision there from a little bit farther to the west anyway. So I'm okay with it if you all are. I just wanted to make sure you all are before I said anything due to construction and all that. So as long as you're all right with that.
Is that what they normally do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll set the barricades out the night before. The church will take care of it, set up for their festival. They're always responsible. They take care of barricades and make sure people are going where they need to go, and we never have any issues. So I'm good with it. I just wanted to run it by you guys because of the construction.
Thank you.
So Flock reached out. They want us to sign a 5-year contract, but it's locking in the same rates as we currently have for cameras, which I've talked to Heath because there's one that the Parks Department pays for. It's the same cost. It's $2,500 a camera. We've got it budgeted in our budget to pay it, but I wanted to make sure it's okay with you all if I went ahead and signed the 5-year locking in the price for 5 years.
That's fine.
And I would need a motion for that, just because it's here for anybody's review, but total over the 5 years is 62,500.
And that's
2,500 comes out of Heath's budget each year and the other 10 comes out of mine.
Okay.
So if someone could gladly give me a motion for that, I'll get that back to Flock. I just don't want them to raise it on me the next couple of years.
I'll make the motion to approve the 5-year contract with Prof.
One
Flock.
second.
Rock.
Yes.
I second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
All right, as a reminder, last fall during the budget, we had 2 new cars to be ordered. The second car finally came in. It will be picked up this week. Previously approved through last year's budget. Just want to keep you guys all abreast. The second car be in, and then the first car we picked up the end of April goes in for lighting this next week. So they're having a little delay getting their equipment in, like a lot of people are. So they should be hitting the road. The first one, the end of June, the second one, probably mid-July is what he was telling me, as long as the orders are coming through. Gym equipment, I've talked with Healthy Hancock 365, and it kind of ended up in a dead end. We had a meeting and they asked me what I wanted. I asked for either some financial support or maybe their personal trainers just to come out once a week to teach us how to do everything properly. And I haven't heard back in a couple months after a couple emails. So I think I got ghosted on that one. So I am looking for, I have the money in my budget, in my equipment budget, because we got reimbursed from the school for a in-car radio, which was $5,900. The total is $69,1896 for the remainder of the gym equipment, which includes a barbell, weights, a commercial bench, the all-in-one trainer, and then a professional installation. So we're not trying to put this thing together and mess it up and hurt somebody. I asked them to invoice us, and they don't do that because generally gym equipment gets paid for once and you don't open an account. So then I went with Missy and asked, how can we pay for this? Because obviously I don't want to write them a check before getting anything in. And her recommendation and Beth's recommendation was to pay by credit card. That way, if it doesn't come in, we can dispute credit card charges, but my credit card doesn't cover that amount. But Missy's does. So I'm asking for a motion to approve Missy to spend the $69,1896 on her card, and it will be paid for out of my equipment fund to finish up the gym.
I make a motion to approve Misty using the card to pay for the remaining gym equipment in the amount of $6,918.96.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Okay. So every 2 years, we apply for the Bulletproof Vest Grant. We've applied again. It's just kind of an ongoing grant that we tried. It's a 50-50 matching grant. The state requires us and the feds require us to have updated bulletproof vests. They currently expire after 5 years due to the maker of the Kevlar. So we've submitted for the 2024-2025 grant timeframe. So we don't know if we'll get it. We've always gotten it in the past. I don't see why we wouldn't again this year, but I wanted to let you know that we did apply for that, and that's currently been submitted. We're starting our traffic blitzes this week. I've got with Trooper Hankins, which is their heavy load Central Indiana guy. He's going to come out. We're going to do some traffic blitzes this week, get his scales out, and see if we can stop some of the side streets and stop people coming down to 67 and to the barricades and trying to bypass. So that will be going on for the next couple of weeks. So there will be, like we talked about last meeting, additional officers on that overtime. So that will get on a separate timesheet to Missy for that overtime amount up to what you've approved from the last. And I did put out a 2023 quick stat sheet that's in the back for everyone to view, and you all have a copy. If you look at our calls for service, they just keep going up. Our accidents keep going up, and our tickets, we've about fivefold since about March. So everything keeps going up. We're out there, we're working it. And I know some days we don't have enough guys, and some days we're playing catch up, but I assure you that we're doing the best we can. And You know, if you, in the audience, if you see something, call the non-emergency number. That's the quickest way to get one of the officers out. If you don't have it, get with me. It's on our website. You can Google it. And that's the quickest way to get an officer there. Facebook never works because we don't monitor that, but we get a lot of that. So please, if you do that, I was hoping Mitchell would be here so we could kind of push that out this evening, but I'm going to send him an email later this evening on that. Last but not least, ball day was good. Good turnout, good floats. Kids are always fun to see. They like to peg the police with candy, which was fun. I think Art took the brunt of it because he was in the golf cart this year, riding around with the kids. So he took a bunch of it, with the exception of barricades getting put up and taken down. I know an hour and a half after the event, I was still requesting barricades be taken down. And I know before the event, I personally set up 12 barricades. Not good, bad, or indifferent. We got the event done. It was a great event. We enjoyed doing it. I would have wished that the Optimist Club would have put a little more effort into getting some of those barricades up prior to 10 minutes before the event started, when I had to go shut down streets myself. And then taking them down, I shouldn't have had to remind them, but I was hoping Steve was here and we could have addressed it this evening, but I wanted to make a public comment about it.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have anything unless you have anything for me.
So I will say that last week I didn't pass any semis coming towards me into town on the way to work, which I normally see at least 2.
Right.
So that was a good week for that, but I wondered what about putting the electronic sign, or DOT would even put this up out there on 67 prior to getting into town?
Well, there's already an electronic sign in McCordsville
Well-
that they drive right past.
Well, I'm talking big ones that flash and say, this is your last opportunity, this is your, every semi needs to get off this road or something drastic, you know what I mean, that they might see.
I talked with, is it Grant Abbott? Grant Abbott, he's a project director. I did ask him to put some signs south on 234 because there was nothing that said no trucks. Now, I think Brian went out and put it up. That way it's enforceable for us for disregarding a traffic control device coming north, because I think a lot of trucks were bypassing 230, taking 234 to Fortville Pike and then coming north and trying to cut through. So with the signage now, we have it all in place. And then Trooper Hankins will be out. And like I said, we're gonna start our traffic blitzes, and if they haven't gotten the point yet, I'm sure they will by the end of the weekend.
I was thinking about making a poster board and standing on Stat Street that says, "Can you read this sign?"
Yeah.
That's what I thought about
I
doing.
do feel like it's gonna help.
I think,
I've seen officers pulling the semis over on Stat Street and even giving a warning. It's better.
I know our tickets have gone up quite a bit. And I know in the evenings it's tough. When people get to Fortville and they try to get around the barricades and they only want to go to, I'm just going to Garner's, or I'm just going to go to the liquor store, or here or there. And I know our officers are out there and then they're trying to get them when they can. But like I said, our not to make excuses, but our calls, our accidents, our tickets, everything's gone up quite a bit. And we got one in training and the other 2 guys, are working their tails usually. So, any other questions?
No, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Well, what was, somebody was saying the speed limit line sign? Is it run on a battery and it's out of juice, or?
It's out of juice.
How about-
Flashing sign?
How much are the solar ones that you see in these towns? They're all over the place.
They are. I need to get with the county because they put some down on Fortville Pike that are solar, that are flashed right there, kind of out of the curves there.
Well, that one that's out of the curb, it's like, you're not gonna get to 50 miles an hour
You
anyway.
have
I
to
don't-
peg it if you're gonna get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can get with the county and see maybe what they paid for it, because ours, and we may need to buy some new deep cell marine batteries to put in it, but we're getting 4 or 5 hours.
No, let's don't do that. Let's get the solar ones and then see if the RDC can pick it up on maybe in the Tift area, maybe on Broadway when we get
Actually, the deep marine batteries he's talking about is what it would take, and it'd make it last a long time. And if you're gonna put a solar on it, you can put a solar on it that will keep that.
That will
battery.
charge that.
Okay,
battery.
yeah,
But I think it probably does need a new battery. Those batteries have been in there about 4 years now.
Yeah.
okay,
They'll
just
find
kind
it
of,
over.
it's,
Yeah, they don't pull much, but you put it on Stat Street now and in last week, 4 hours, it was dead.
Yeah,
Fully
okay.
charged to dead in 4 hours.
What is, because I see them in Lapel, I see them all in these little towns all over. So they can't be that, they got
We
him
priced
in
them.
Summit.
We put them up along 200 West and Fortville Pike and I think we got some ordered out here on Ohio Street for the developers having to put those in. I want to say it's about $5,000 or $6,000 for the set.
piece.
Mm.
For the set.
Would the RDC be able to spend some money if it's in the TIF
It's got
on Broadway?
The TIF district. I don't know. That'd be a stretch.
On Broadway?
On Broadway, it would work, but I don't know if
After
it's gonna
it's
do
done,
any good
huh?
on Broadway. I said on Broadway it would work, but I don't know if it's gonna do any good on Broadway at this point.
No, well, it could. They're still driving faster than 30 on
I
there.
would,
Oh, yeah.
Pat, I would recommend if you hadn't already looked at the weight limit ordinance,
Mm.
because I know that there's a caveat in there where it says if you're making local deliveries, but it also, if you've got another route, you don't have to cut, just take a shortcut. That
Right.
doesn't count as a local delivery. And I know the guys working on Broadway, they're taking those triaxles full around our brand new paved streets,
Mhm.
going up and down Fortville Pike to go to 200. Or if they can get back Broadway and go 300, they can avoid our new streets altogether.
Yeah.
So
Yep, we're gonna work with ISP on that one and go there and see what we can do.
and then on your timesheet, just, I wouldn't make a separate timesheet, just put them all in the same. It'd be cleaner, it'd be easier to track it that way. The overtime.
The paid overtime?
Cause it's
Okay.
it's not automatic overtime, it's still overtime after they get their
Right.
84 hours in.
Well, I just didn't want to confuse, like if they had court one day with that. And then that adds into regular overtime. I didn't want to have to split the comp. From like a court detail to a traffic detail. And add it all into one time sheet. I was trying to make it cleaner by going the other way.
Yeah, it's not like what the operation pullover where it'd be separate,
Yeah,
because that was automatic.
Right.
Time and a half. This is not automatic time and a half, so anything that they work over 84, then would get the time and a half added to it.
okay.
Any other questions for Chief? All right, thank you so much. All right, Adam, you have anything for us?
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. Just as an FYI, we issued the scooters coffee permit today. So as soon as they pay their fee, should be, I think tomorrow, and
I
drove through- I drove
through the scooters in Wabash. It was really nice.
It is nice.
good, yeah,
I thought so.
I'm excited about it.
Mhm.
I'm really happy that it's gonna clean up that site over there, especially as you
It's
come into
busy, too.
town.
There's a lot of
So,
people, every time I've been by there.
That's some good news. And then the other bit of good news is that the Stellar Facade program with Fox Garden and VFW is winding down. Right now, they're just working on punch list items and we're kind of going back and forth on some things on the interior of Fox Garden, but hopefully we'll be able to get it resolved here quickly. So after, a kick in the pants, we finally got them to get moving on that project,
Looks really
get it
good.
done. But yeah, that's another one. I really, I think we can all be pleased as to how both those projects turned out. It looks so much better over there. So. Other than that, if you have any questions or anything, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, Heath, do you have anything for us tonight?
Just a little bit of good news along with what Adam was saying. We had the Mount Vernon seniors come in a couple weeks ago and got all those bunkers down on Main Street. They were cleaned out prior, but had a group of kids working down there and got all those bunkers done. And we focused really this year on Landmark Park and getting everything mulched over in Landmark, including the playground area over there. So we do have some areas that we gotta finish up over in Memorial, but Landmark at this point in time is sitting pretty good. I do want to bring up, I've talked to Pat about it. I know there was some conversation about street closures with the Optimist for the Ball Day Parade. If you recall, prior to the NDOT construction, we had approved closing down Stat Street for Summerfest. I did come up with a map today with all the street closures and what the detour should be that we can post online that I've asked Andy to post. I think Joe has seen it. I'll get it to Pat as well if you want to post it on the the police site. I know Natalie's gonna post on Fortville happenings. It'll be a simple jog. So as people are coming down Stat on from that 8 o'clock on through that Summerfest day, they can just hang a left north on Main and head up to Michigan and head out to 13 that way, as opposed to taking Stat Street all the way across. If anybody wants to go back south and catch Broadway towards Ingalls, they'll just have to jump up to Michigan and hit it there. So it should be a pretty quick, easy thing. I know that's something that Cammie's cause will probably approach you about after the fact. They're kind of using me as the guinea pig to see if that's see how well that's gonna work. I don't see any issues with that. We'll see. And if it's something that does create issues, then Cammie's cause will probably address the situation and maybe try and keep Stat open. But again, I don't know that little section right there, that 200-300 yard section, be able to push people up to Michigan will cause much of an issue. And then the last thing I've got, if anybody's driven through the park, we've had that slide kind of coming into the park that's still a mess. Those parts are ordered. We've paid for the part side of that slide to get replaced. That's busted up. So once that comes in, we'll have that installed. I talked to the company today, the AAA State of Play, who did our hill slides. They don't really have an ETA yet as far as when those parts are going to be in. But as soon as they are, we'll get that fixed. So that's really about all I got, unless anybody's got any questions for me.
Any question? Thank you.
Thank you.
And Missy's not here. You have anything for us, Nick?
I do not.
Okay. Any questions? All right, time for public comment. Who wants to come up first? Dave? Is somebody make sure that microphone's on? Because it sounds like you turned it up. Okay. Because it doesn't seem like I'm getting the same. Yeah, it's on.
I'm Dave Fisher from Old Bridge. Got the same old question. What's been happening with the pole barn in Old Bridge?
Adam, you want to give us an update?
Yeah, I sure can. If you'll recall, was it last month, we sent a code enforcement letter. We gave them a few different options. It was either tear it down or submit for a building permit that complies with the ordinance, or seek a variance that would go through the Board of Zoning Appeals. They chose that last option. So they did officially file for the variance that came in. So it will go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, which is a public meeting. It'll be the last Thursday of June. Everybody in Old Bridge will be notified of it. And that'll be the next step in the process.
Another delay tactic. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Dwight.
Give my name.
Could you state your name, Dwight?
Resident of Fortville. I just like to know what happened to our tornado warning thing we used to have every Friday at 11 o'clock. Our test from the sirens.
I haven't noticed. I haven't been in town.
I've
As
been,
far as I know, they're still going off, but if they're not, we need to look into that.
I've been home since 1st of March and I haven't heard it now.
Really?
2 blocks from it. I mean, you know.
You want,
We'll check into that.
okay.
That's the first I've heard of.
Friday, I was getting told it.
Yeah, I'll,
I hear the one down at Woodbury every once in a while if the wind's right, you know, and the one out at over at Fisher's there.
Okay.
But I haven't heard ours.
I will check with emergency management because they're the ones that send that,
Sets it up.
does all that. So I'll call them tomorrow morning and talk to their director and ask them to make sure that they're all going off properly.
Well, you got that in a minute.
And
Yeah.
I want to comment on how nice Landmark Park looks. I just wished I could see it because of the Stottlemyre ditch. What happened to our machine that we used to cut?
We mow once a year. And we haven't gotten to it yet this year.
4th of July.
Yeah. That's the plan.
All righty, thank you.
I don't even pay attention to that.
Okay,
Everybody.
Charlie, come on up. Yeah, and then state your name and your address.
Charlie Cooper, 722 Breakers Lane, Fortville. Question about the Hamilton County Drainage Board papers that several hundred people got. We're curious, they state different Indiana codes and fun stuff here, but we're curious as to how Hancock County is now suddenly paying Hamilton County taxes. And they put a nice map together to show where the drainage is going. And yet 10 yards away, Stottlemyre ditch drains into the same dam.
Can I see the map? I've never seen it. Has anybody else seen the map?
So the town of Fortville is involved in it because of the expansion for the water plant on the south side of the park, southwest side, I should say.
So is this what they're asking this section right here to be paid for?
Actually, the town pays for the 4 acres that's there behind the sewer treatment plant.
It says 10 or 9.95. I don't know if that includes the water treatment itself, but I just know on the listing it says town of Fortville 9.95 acres.
So all these drains that are in this neighborhood, they tie into this and go down this way?
You asking me?
Yeah.
What makes you think I've got all the answers?
See,
Oh, well, I'm just curious where,
Well,
before the,
let me tell you what I know, and I'm not
okay,
speaking for Hamilton County and I'm not defending them, but I will tell you that Stottlemyre ditch is a regulated ditch in Hancock County. Jackson ditch is a regulated ditch. Once it crosses the county line, the Flat Fork is not regulated. So that's all private. Once it hits the county line and goes west and goes out and hits Fall Creek, there's that one branch off of Flat Fork Creek, and they call it the Flat Fork Creek branch. That is regulated. That is the only thing that is regulated, that they're charging for anything that dumps into that particular branch. Specifically, if it goes through Fortville first and goes to Hancock County and hits our ditch, then Hancock County would put that on your ditch assessment. Your ditch assessment would be on your property taxes. But since it doesn't go into Hancock County first, goes directly into Hamilton County, hits that regulated fork, then that's why they charge you for it.
So we're gonna get checked.
So where did-
For Hancock County taxes for drainage and Hamilton County tax for drainage?
No, Hancock County will not charge you for a ditch assessment. You shouldn't be getting a ditch assessment for Hancock County. If you look at your property taxes, you don't have a Jackson ditch or a Stottlemyre ditch, either one on your property taxes.
so before they built this neighborhood, where did all this water dump? It
Right
was,
there, right
it
in
just open, it was just an open ditch
That
then?
ditch was actually created.
And then they
for that.
covered it?
It was created for that subdivision. It's an open ditch. There's so many feet of concrete pipe, so many feet of open ditch, and they just added some more concrete pipe. Now, the way I read that letter that you're looking at, they only collect fees for so many years until they feel like they've got a kitty built up large enough.
It said something about it up to 8 years.
Yeah, and I don't know whether, the way I read it, I don't know if they've already collected for 4 years and they're going to charge an additional 4 years, or if it's additional 8 years.
And how do we pay the tax? Who collects the tax? And how is it being regulated?
That's all Hamilton County. I have no clue on any of that.
And again, how is that my responsibility? Being in Hancock County.
I don't know.
That's a ditch assessment. I mean, it's, the way I understand it is they determine what they feel like it's gonna cost to maintain that ditch, that regulated portion. So then they take, say if it's $8,000, they're gonna take all the people that shed into that, they're gonna split it off. I don't know how they do theirs, whether it's hard surface, acreage, or how they do it, but they divide it what they feel like is equally, I assume, by everybody until they get enough
And then more
for so many
specifically-
years until they get that much in the kitty.
Well, here, I get it, Joe. Thank you.
My question is, why didn't they discuss this before they built the neighborhood and started collecting?
No,
money?
it-
They're gonna have a, if you look in the last page, they're having a hearing on June 26th, and they cited on the first page here.
Right.
There's a long statute that talks about regulated drains. So
Yeah,
to the
it's same
question
thing I
of
said at the
whether,
beginning.
sorry, what?
It's this thing that I said at the beginning.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
an Indiana statute that they're stating, and yet I'm in a completely different county. So
Well,
I guess
so-
if I go to the drainage board, will I get to park for free out at the new park that they have?
Well, no, so, I mean, to the question of whether they can charge the money to somebody that's in Hancock County, you know, either you or an attorney or somebody needs to look through they cite it 36-9-27, and it's a really, I've dealt with this before where the people have had disputes with drainage boards and whether they can be assessed. And so the answer of whether they can charge somebody in another county, it's going to be found somewhere in those statutes. And there's this hearing coming up. And they say there's a deadline for
5
submitting.
days before.
Yeah, so that's where you're gonna wanna, in advance, either yourself or somebody, yeah, I can't give you
To
legal
represent
advice.
Everybody?
Yeah,
just
somebody,
myself?
you can represent yourself, or, you know, but that's gonna be your opportunity to say, hey, and there's also a reference to a report in here that they've produced. And you can get a copy of, so you could go in and you could say, hey, I'm not even you don't have any authority to, I mean, if it's the case, and I don't know if it's the case, so you could.
Because CLM was built many years ago before anything where they have their drainage or anything else that's there. And specifically, the town had them put in those big reservoir areas for drainage or runoff. And now even CLM, or the old CLM, whatever they call it now, is even part of that. And it's like, I mean, they're just grasping it at whoever they can charge. Is the way I see it.
Yeah, and that's under these statutes, there's gonna be a report out there that says somebody's gone out like an engineer and said, here's the area that's benefited. This is what they've said, but there's a hearing coming up. So somebody, you can go in and say, we don't agree with you, or we think you're wrong, but that's your time to really voice your objections.
Now, how would they, that'd be a
the town
stacked
court
deck,
gonna
a court
do it?
against them, really, because
It's
it's their board. How do would Hancock County, would their attorney kick in on this at all? And
That's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying,
it's
the
gonna
town
be-
board
it's their
is involved in
board.
This as well.
So the drainage board, they're gonna hold a hearing, and
yeah, but it's their drainage board.
I-
It's almost like it's the
it's like
jury's
a.
been stacked against them already.
Well, it's like a BZA or
Yeah.
any, so what you could go in and so I mean, yeah, they may say, thanks for your opinion, but we
Yeah.
don't, but you could then challenge it if you felt, go to court and say, just like a BZA, if somebody felt like they got a bad decision, they can
Right.
appeal it. And so it's similar to that kind of proceeding. So I can't tell you, yeah, what
Okay.
kind of
So again,
reception
is
you'll
the
get.
town of Fortville gonna challenge that with everybody else, or are they gonna go along with it, seeing as how they're part of the group?
I think the only argument we would have is if we're paying for like a ditch assessment in Hancock County, like the Jackson ditch. If we're paying for that, then we wouldn't be paying for two. If we're not paying for Jackson ditch, then I can see that we would be included in that other assessment. Because you're gonna be including one or the other.
That was my question. You can keep that. I've got another copy back here. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So when's the hearing? The 26th of June.
There's also a deadline. It looks like there's a deadline in advance of the hearing, 5 days before, if somebody wants to file the objection. So, you know, if somebody was looking to, it's going to be tedious, but these statutes are going to probably lay out when you need to have things done, or else, you know, somebody's rights could be waived.
So one last question is in our water bills, we actually have a bill for storm drainage. So that's just our portion until it gets to Hamilton County.
There's two
See what I'm
separate,
saying?
two
Two
separate
separate
things.
things.
Literally.
Mhm.
So somebody might have to pay X number of dollars to go 10 foot. Just like everybody else.
Just like everybody else in town, they pay the stormwater fee on their utility bill.
Yeah.
And they still pay the county for a ditch assessment. The ditch assessment that goes to the county is strictly for
That specific ditch.
that ditch only. So that's all they're charging for.
So they haven't been paying that ditch fee? That,
It sounds like maybe they were being charged in the beginning and then they froze it. Quit charging when they felt like they had enough money to take care of what was there. And then after now reviewing it, again, this is my way of reading that. After reviewing it, they feel like it's gonna cost more to go in and do the maintenance on that than what they've got in their pot of money.
Probably because
So they're
they're put
charging
in all
them.
those new homes now. Because it was just a field.
Yeah.
So now that they've got all the new homes, but that's the reason why I say, because it affects my mother's property as well. And she was saying, well, I already pay stormwater. So if I'm already paying storm and now I'm paying my storm to go through there too, it's kind of.
so she's paying storm from that little section in Fortville going to just that point, and then she's gonna pay again for where it stretches there to there.
The county charges just for the ditch itself. And what the town charges is more for the water quality and the piping and
Okay.
the runoff and everything.
All right.
Not the answer you want, I'm sure.
Any other public comment? 2006
Park board.
Park Board, got it. Okay. Town council comments, Libby?
I went to the library meeting last week and it was well attended and it was well done. And I was told to take the emotion out of it because I believe we should have a library in Fortville. And I don't think it should go to McCourtsville. And I think you all should back us up and.
Right.
I am.
No, I agree. It's the library board that's got to make a
I
decision
know,
first,
we can
right?
help influence that board.
Yes, we can.
And we can help influence the people around us and we can talk to our neighboring townships.
Well,
and
is there-
disagree with them and.
Is there a
fight.
possibility that they just the library, I haven't been to any meetings, but is there gonna be two libraries then?
That's not the plan. There's a library planned for either McCordsville's new town center or our township
Okay.
office location.
Because they did one in New Pal. How did that get done? Through Hancock County?
Mhm.
Would Hancock County take over and run the one in McCourtsville?
No,
No?
no,
Okay. I was just trying to have
Have
a,
they asked? Have they gone?
no. Ashley could just talk about it a lot better than I can, but it is a different funding entity. Is that right?
have they posted the two options?
Yes.
in the
that's what
square
the meeting
footage?
was About,
There'll be
and there's another one in McCordsville
Okay.
Thursday.
We'll be there.
I will be there.
Adam, are you coming? Can you put that on your schedule?
I can.
That's it,
That's it.
I think. Summer's here.
Tanya?
I ain't got nothing.
Nothing? Ryan?
Nothing.
Oh, I mean, Ron.
That's my dad's name.
It is.
Becky?
I just want to say, I think the police department is doing a great job. I mean, I have visibly seen them stop a lot of cars on Merrill Street and down by Stat Street.
Thank you. I'll pass it on to the officers.
I have no comment. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve and sign vouchers?
I make a motion to approve and sign vouchers.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? The ayes have it.
Make a motion to adjourn at 8:19.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.